Good morning and buenos dias from the hot and dusty roads of Palomino to the east of Santa Marta, along the Caribbean coast of Colombia, reputed to be a hippie paradise or a backpacker's paradise. But before I actually check that out, I'm making a trip to Tayrona National Park this morning. One of the most important and apparently one of the most beautiful national parks in Colombia. So I have to go and find my bus. Well, although there are no signs, this is the bus stop, and luckily there's a bus waiting for me that's going to Santa Marta. So this is like on the main road, as you can see, just on the corner with the main street in Palomino, which leads down to the beach. Well, the advice online said to get here early to avoid the queues, and it was not wrong. Almost there. But first I have to buy compulsory insurance in this queue before I can go and buy the entrance ticket in that queue. So got my insurance wristband for 7,000. Now to get the ticket. So getting into the park wasn't quite what I expected. It's taken just under 2 hours in the queue. When I finally reached the end of the queue, there was a clue as to why it was taking so long. First you had to buy insurance and then you had to buy your ticket, and there was one person taking the money for the insurance and there were 9 people taking the money for the tickets. Bit of a bottleneck. So once you get in, to get to the trailhead for the most popular hikes, it's 5 kilometers, and you have the option of either walking it or taking a little shuttle bus, which only costs 5,000 pesos. And so with all the time I've wasted in the queue, that's exactly what I've done. So now I'm going to start the hike. The rubbish you leave along the way doesn't talk, but it says a lot about you. Yep, the sea is definitely down there somewhere.
La piscina, Gómez al Cabo, si quieren ir al Cabo van y si no quedan ahí. Y aquí para allá a la derecha, para acá a la izquierda. Hola.
See, some parts of the walk must be a little more difficult in the wet season. It's the dry season now, which is why they have these raised walkways to keep you out of the mud. Okay, so I need left for the Cabo San Juan. So, a couple of bits of advice, common sense really. First one, which I didn't heed, get here early. Not so much because of the queue, because I'm sure it isn't that bad all the time, but more so because if you want to go to Cabo San Juan, it's at least 2.5 hours hiking, which means 2.5 hours back. That's 5 hours. If you want a meal, if you want to spend some time on the beach, it all adds up. And so the earlier you get here, the better. Second bit of advice, get the shuttle bus. The shuttle bus takes 5 kilometers off your hike, takes 1 hour off the hike. So when I said 2.5 hours to Cabo San Juan, if you don't get the shuttle bus, make that 3.5 hours. And it's only 5,000 pesos, and they're very, very frequent. So get the shuttle bus, get here early. That's my advice. So if you want to get the shuttle bus, the ticket office is just down there, and you walk up to here, get the shuttle bus for 5,000 pesos, and it takes you 5 kilometers up there to the trailhead. And although I've had to rush quite a lot to cram in everything I wanted to do because I turned up late, it was definitely worth it. Definitely worth it. The beaches are absolutely spectacular. The hike itself is easy, quite easy. Very well maintained. The paths are quite wide in most places. There's raised walkways when it goes over rough bits of terrain, surrounded by pristine forest. Yeah, it's quite an easy hike, no really difficult climbs or anything. And then you're rewarded at the end of it with these spectacular beaches. Certainly even far better than I was expecting. So, Tayrona National Park, I'd give it the thumbs up. And now it's time to find a bus to take me back to Palomino. So, see you later. Bye bye. So this is the main street in Palomino, which leads from the big main road where all the traffic is down to the beach. It's so empty. Albens. Hey, mi peluquero. So walking up and down the high street in Palomino, the most striking thing at first is how quiet it is. Just speaking with a few people, with the hairdresser who just cut my hair. First of all, we're in low season, and also because it's 12 midday. A lot of the people who are here will either be out on an excursion, tubing on the river, or sitting around the swimming pools in their hotel. And it says like after 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the evening, there'll be more activity on the streets, even though it's still low season and there's nowhere near as much as activity as there would be in the high season. Another thing Arbens, my hairdresser, was talking to me about was he was born and bred here. He's very young, but nevertheless how much it's changed over recent years. So just a few years ago, before COVID, Palomino was basically just a few hostels towards the beach, a few bars and not much else. And it really was a hippie heaven or a backpackers heaven, but over time, over a very short space of time, that seems to have changed a lot, so he tells me, and it's obvious to see too, with lots of hotels and bars and restaurants, shops, and gradually sort of like a little more upmarket, a little more posh, quite expensive in many cases. So you can gradually see that from being maybe a hippie backpacker heaven, there's a gradual encroachment of mass tourism. Although mass tourism. We're still talking about dirt roads and hostels. So I would say it's still, as a backpacker, I would say it's still pretty much a backpacker's paradise. A hippie paradise? I don't know, because as you can see, I'm certainly not a hippie. So that brings an end to my brief stay in Palomino. I'm not sure whether it's hippie heaven or paradise for backpackers. It's the low season at the moment, so it's very quiet. There's a really relaxed, laid-back vibe, which makes you think, yeah, it's sort of like a hippie heaven. But then there are so many restaurants and bars and things which at the moment are empty, that in the high season must be full to the rafters. And so I'm not sure exactly how the atmosphere here would change from low to high season. Presumably it changes a great deal, so I'm not sure whether it's a backpacker's paradise or a hippie heaven, but at this time of year it's a nice place to be. Yeah, I've enjoyed it. It's very quiet, laid back. I managed to get some work done. And if you do come to Palomino, whether it's high season, low season, whether you're backpacking or whether you're a hippie or not, one thing for sure is that you must not miss Tayrona National Park, which the hike yesterday was beautiful. Lovely forest, amazing views, and fantastic beaches. So that was definitely be recommended to anybody who comes here to visit Palomino, whatever time of year.